There we go. All right. I did it. Hey.
What's happening?
Dude, you're the first person I had to kind of do the whole magic thing to. Normally they just do it to us. So how you doing, man?
I'm great. How's Michigan treating you?
Well, it's good, but it's 48 and rainy here today. So how are you?
I'm good. It is not 48 and rainy where I am. I'm in Ventura, California, and it's about 80 degrees outside. So I got no complaints as far as the weather is concerned.
Yeah. Is that where you're living now?
No, this is just where I ended up. We were doing a bunch of recording up in Malibu, me and Zach, because we have the double album for Smith & Myers that's going to be coming out.
You there?
Yeah, man.
Brent, you're not going to believe this. Yeah, Tommy Benedictus was calling, and this isn't my phone. I'm sorry about that.
Oh, that's
Dude,
awesome.
I had to run. I had to run down the hallway and say, "You got to get me back on this feet. My fingers don't work. My face doesn't work. I'm sorry about that."
Oh my gosh! I was literally just looking at myself. Sorry, I'm knocking the camera here, but I'm I just see you. You're and your pose like this. You're like. I was like, everybody take pictures of him. Just take pictures of him. I was posing and everything, waiting on you to get back.
Dude, I'm sorry. Listen, we've got a pretty long history together, but I've never done this before. So and then Tommy calls, of all people,
Why the universe is real, man.
I'll tell you. So anyways, you were saying, I'm sorry. So you're recording this double live record. I kind of missed the end of it. So go ahead.
Yeah, why I'm in California right now is because me and Zach were recording the double album for the new Smith & Myers record that's going to come out later this year. But the reality was, I got to California in January of this year, and we have so much creative that's coming out in 2020 that it's not just, just the albums that we're working on. We have the Attention film that's going to be coming out later this year. Obviously, we have a double album, Smith & Myers, that's going to come out. We also, the last show that we did in 2019 was at the London O2 Arena with Alter Bridge. We filmed that show and recorded all those elements, so that's going to be coming out in just a minute, too, for everybody. But I was in Malibu with Zach, and we weren't paying attention to the press or media or anything like that. We were making a record. So the day that, quite frankly, the day that South by Southwest got canceled, we were looking at each other going, what is going on? And so it was bang, and so I walked it back 7 weeks ago. The biggest thing was getting Zach home to his wife and to his kids. So went ahead and got him home. It's a 20-song record, so we're 17 songs done right now. We've got 3 left to do. Our producer left to go to Hawaii with his family, and he's been there for 9 weeks. He comes back tonight, finally. And so Monday afternoon, I will be back up to the studio to finish the last 3 songs. But that's kind of how I wound up here in California. Just
what a rough life that guy has, man.
Do what now?
What a rough life that guy has, being stuck in Hawaii.
Well, I don't necessarily think he was looking at it like that. I mean, there's way worse places, but I mean, it was just the chaos of everything that's kind of ensued since this began. So there was a lot of uncertainty, and same thing with me. People have asked, well, why didn't you just go back to Florida or wherever your family was and this and that? And I said, to be totally honest with you, 7 weeks ago, I had never heard the term social distancing. I didn't know what a pandemic was. I knew nothing about coronavirus, nor did I know anything about COVID-19. So I just stayed put and started to just try to educate myself as into what was actually going on.
Yeah, it's crazy because one of my friends, he's 25. He's like, dude, nothing like this has ever happened in my life before. And I'm like, yeah, hello. Nothing like this ever happened in my life either. So
about 100 years or so since
it's
happened.
Been a while, right? Exactly. Hey, so you mentioned this Attention film. What is that all about?
Well, so Attention, the record, it had its 2nd anniversary on May 4th, its 2nd birthday, if you will. But when we created that album, it's a conceptual piece. And the first 4 videos that you saw of the songs, obviously they're out there, but the entire intention of the album was we told the story musically. we always knew we were going to tell the story visually. So that's exactly what we did. And so we're in the editing process right now and getting it all ready to go. But it's basically the soundtrack to this story that's going to unfold before everybody's eyes. And it's the story of Attention. So it's really a musical, I guess, if you had to categorize it. But all those different characters and of all the singles that we've released and what have you, you're going to see the entire story played out in its entirety with the movie.
That's cool. Yeah, I told you before, but I love the record, but it's the only record I have where I got to put it on 45.
Right.
It kind of screws me up. The first few times I'm listening, I'm like, what is going on here? It took me a minute to figure it out, but I finally did. I'm not that,
We wondered about that, though, too. We were like, I wonder if they're going to get it.
Yeah, well, like I said, I'm not the speediest guy around, but I figured it out pretty quickly. So,
well, I appreciate I appreciate all the encouragement and all the support with all of our records. So, thank you. Next time when we do it, we won't make it as difficult.
Yeah, I walked down to my hallway, and I don't know if you remember this or not, but you guys signed this big placard for me one time back on the first record, and I got it in my hallway going right down to my rock room. It's so cool from Leave a Whisper, man. I'll tell you, a million miles traveled since then.
Tell me the story, because I saw it earlier today, and you don't have to be like long-winded about it or anything, but tell me the story about the plaque for Amaryllis.
Well, your record company had sent me an email. They say, hey, Brent Smith wants your address. And I wasn't sure if it was like a real email or whatever. I didn't know what it was. So I kind of sent back a funny email. Oh, yeah, what does Brent want my address for? And blah, blah, blah. And so then they sent me back, and he wants to send you a plaque for Amaryllis. I'm like, oh, okay. So now I realized it was a real email. So then I sent my address back, and we went away for Christmas, and I came back, and I sent the kids next door to get my mail from the neighbor's house, and they come back with all these bills and stuff like that. And so I went to my neighbor's house, a different neighbor, and as I was leaving my driveway, my car lights went across my front yard, and I saw this box sitting out there, and it was the gold record. So it was a really cool Christmas surprise, if you will. But you guys are really the only ones that ever given me something like that. Paul O'Neill from Trans-Siberian Orchestra gave me some, but I mean, I think he gave it to a lot of people, But I thought yours was really from the heart, and we've had a long relationship for years gone by, so that's always meant a lot to me. So
no, man, I was very, very specific about it's interesting in 2020 how people view those records when you're given we're very, very humbled that we even have those types of plaques because you have RIAA certified if it's gold or multi-platinum, and even just to have that language. None of these plaques that we have, we would never have them without you, and especially the WRIF, because you're a huge part of what we've been able to do. You've been there literally you've been there from day one. So, you mean a great deal to me and the band, my friend.
Yeah, well, thank you for that. I'll never forget when you guys first came in here. I tell the story all the time. It's it's funny because the older I get, the more stupid stories I have to tell. And I have a lot of stories.
You haven't aged, though, in 20 years. I swear to God. You literally have not aged.
Well, thank you. But when you guys came in here, I remember it was you and I want to say Brad and Jason.
Yeah, probably.
Right? Yeah. And then, probably. Right. And then you were singing Fly from the Inside, and I'll never forget, you started to sing, and you put these mirrored sunglasses on, and you started wailing. And it was I was because it was pretty impressive, And even people that were kind of in the hallway, they're like, oh my God, I could hear him singing through the walls and stuff. But when you first got signed to the record deal, didn't you sing by yourself in front of Ahmet Ertegun in his office?
I did. Yeah. What happened was I had been signed. I was born and raised in Knoxville, Tennessee, actually, and I was signed with a band there. First time to Atlantic. That lasted about 9 months, and then I was dropped. And then the A&R, a gentleman by the name of Steve Robertson. In the industry, he goes by Steve-O, who is still our A&R 20 years later. He re-signed me to a development deal with no band, no nothing. Just he believed in me and believed that I was a songwriter, but that I just wasn't with the right people yet. So then that took on a 3-year journey of how we created Shinedown. But yeah, the very first time I met Ahmet Ertegun, we were getting ready to start the recording for what became Leave a Whisper. So the very first time I met him, first thing he asked me to do was, he goes, would you sing for me? And I'm like, sure. And it was pretty pretty emotional, to be honest with you.
Do you remember what you sang for him? I don't ever remember you telling me that.
I do. It was a song that was recorded for the record, but it never ever saw the light of day. It was a song called "Notice Me." It's on. I think there's a demo of it somewhere, like online. You can like look it up. It's like way back in the day demo. But I sang him that, and I think I did like a real quick Otis Redding tune because I have such a connection with Otis Redding and Atlantic Records and my dad because Otis signed Otis Redding. He also signed Ray Charles, Aretha Franklin. I can go on and on and on. Led Zeppelin. And so to be in the presence of this individual was immensely historic for me. Amazing guy too. Like one of those people, like when you know, God rest his soul, he's been gone for a while, but he's always with us in spirit. But you know how you meet certain people in your life, and like when you meet them for the first time, they just exude a different kind of an energy. That was this guy. Like you could just kind of feel the power of this individual.
Yeah, I've heard a lot of good stuff about him. You know, Kid Rock name dropped him in one of the songs, and of course we see him around here all the time and stuff, and he's talked about him as well. But a listener wanted to know if you'd ever do a duet on one of your upcoming records. I know you did that duet with Lizzie back in the day, Breaking Inside. Yeah. But I mean, would there ever be a time when you might be doing something with somebody else from a different band coming up in the future?
Absolutely. I mean, I don't have anything on the books just yet, but once again, you know, I head out of here June 1st, and I'll be in Florida for a little bit of time, and then towards the back half of June, I make my way to Charleston with Eric as we begin to myself and Barry and Zach and Eric. We're starting to kind of put I guess you would say we're starting to draw out the outline for Shinedown 7 and how we want to make this next record and things of that nature. We've talked about doing some duets the last couple of albums, and it's just never, either the schedules didn't line up with the people that we wanted to work with or what have you, and we just weren't able to do it. A couple of years back, too, I did for Maria Brink on one of the In This Moment records, I did a track with her. She asked me to sing on it. But that's kind of like the last time I've done something like that. But obviously, and yeah, man, as long as we would totally do that in a heartbeat. We'll just have to make the right decision if we get the opportunity to work with somebody in regards to that.
Yeah, so as far as Shinedown 7 is concerned, it sounds like you got a lot of stuff on the books already, that you're already working on. But I mean, do you have anything like demoed out or anything, or any ideas, or do you guys go in like kind of with an empty slate?
A lot of times we'll go into it with a bit of an empty slate. It was interesting on the last album because it was the first time that Eric, our bass player, who's way more than a bass player, it was time for him to do an entire record. You know, he had already done his production, like Cut the Cord from Threats to Survival, that's his production. Diamond Eyes, that's his production. Her Name is Alice, which is like a deep cut fan favorite, that's his production. But so with Attention, it was time for him to do the whole thing. He had like 22 pieces already written by the time we got in the studio, but I think we only used one of those pieces for, I believe it was what we ended up when we wrote the song Brilliant. That was one of the early songs written for that cycle. But then everything else, we just did everything from scratch. We just started with, okay, we have this if we need to go back and look at it, but let's just keep going fresh with what we have right here on the spot. He's finishing up a project that has been a passion project of his for quite a number of years now, which is this whole story. It's a comic book that he's putting together, and he's got it's pretty amazing. I don't want to give too many things away about it because I don't know all the details of it, but I know he's trying to get that ready to be released at some point in time this year also. But when it's time to go in and look at the Shinedown material for this next one, I mean, we've got stuff lying around, but knowing us, we'll walk in there and be like, what do you got? And we'll just start making stuff up. That's usually how it works. Like we'll get in the room with each other, and we may have some ideas, and we'll play them for each other. We'll grab, voice memos on our phone. Well, I have this, or I was working on that. And sometimes we'll just toss them and be like, quick, give me a riff, go, off the top of your head. And then it'll just kind of go from there.
Now, with this whole quarantine and lockdown and stuff, do you find yourself, do you find yourself with a little bit more inspiration, or is it just kind of going through the days, or I know that Sully from Godsmack told me that he was drawing a blank. He wasn't, he didn't have anything going for him. I mean, do you find yourself having things rattling around in the head or what?
Yeah, it just depends on. I'm never not like intuitive to myself. Like I'll listen to where I'm at. It depends on what I'm doing that day or what the outline is of the day and what have you. Speaking of Sully, I just did his homegrown sessions a couple of weeks ago, and that was just about not talking really about anything that was kind of going on because it's everywhere right now, and it was real lighthearted and laid back, and we were just talking about. We were just shooting the breeze. It was really, really fun. I got to give him a congratulatory virtual high five. I talked to him last night, but they just got their newest #1 on the rock chart with the When Legends Rise album. My favorite song on the record, which is Unforgettable.
Yeah, mine too, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm super proud of those guys. He's got Jacoby Shaddix on his show today, actually, so that'll be fun for people if they want to go watch that.
I've never heard of that guy, but he sounds interesting.
Yeah, he's a nice guy. He's a really nice guy. He's done a few things in the industry.
No, he's awesome.
No, but yeah, man. I mean, I always try to, if the inspiration is there, very rarely will I ignore it. And if I have the time, if a melody comes to mind, if a lyrical idea comes to mind, I will put it down. One of the things, though, speaking of Kid Rock, it's interesting. When I had an opportunity to meet him face to face and kind of hang out with him way back in the day, I was actually at his house in Michigan, and he was just jamming out, on the dock and had a bunch of people and what have you. I just was there around a bunch of other people. He's a great host, by the way. He's a super, super great guy. But he was just coming up with stuff, and I was like, hey, man, do you want me to record that for you, or don't you want to, record that real quick? And he'd be like, no, man, if it ain't any good, then I'll forget about it. He's like, still trapped. If it's meant to be, I'll remember it.
No, but that's how he is.
I can't do that. Like, if I get something and I think it's really good, I'll put it down real quick. But, yeah, funny, thinking about Bob and how he does stuff, man, it's pretty wild to watch him work.
He told me that his new stuff, and I'm not talking out of school because I asked him if I could say this on the radio, but he said his new stuff is great. He says he's really got a lot of venom going right now, which is like a whole other story for another time. But I was at his house years ago, and he was changing all the lyrics to his song on the fly, singing karaoke to his own songs, He
can do that, man. I mean, the guy is really prolific in regards to, I think that comes with being able to wear a lot of hats.
Right.
Because the guy is an engineer. He knows a lot about studio. He knows a lot about, his knowledge of, microphones and how to place things in a studio is really knowledgeable. Not to mention he can play, 7 different instruments, and he can play them well. He's got a ridiculous sense of harmonies also. He's got a great mind when it comes to layering, fifths and thirds and things like that. He's if people knew, he's really, really talented. Really talented.
Yeah, he's one of those guys that can walk into the hip hop awards or the country awards or the rock awards, and everyone knows him. So, hey, what have you been binging anything at home?
I haven't binged. No, I've been working nonstop with. We've got a partnership right now with an incredible organization called WRIF, and that's been taking up a lot of my time, and just kind of trying to get the word out there for everybody. But in the evenings, I will try to unplug a little bit. I love the Showtime network, so Billions just started. I love that show, so that just kind of started. I love Shameless. I don't know if they're going to be able to put the new season out this year because they usually do the back half of the year, so I don't know if they have anything in the studio already in the can. So we'll have to see from that. But I'm trying to think if there's anything that I've actually binged. Probably not anything off the top of my head where I need to stop watching the news. I'll tell you the truth. I got to stop watching the news because it's the same thing every day. It's just the same story.
Yeah, no doubt.
But I'm very, very I love the Showtime network. So Ray Donovan, Shameless, Billions, those types of shows, I really, really dig them.
Yeah, I've gotten hooked on Westerns. Now I'm watching Deadwood. I never saw it when it first came out.
Deadwood, I'd have to go back and kind of refamiliarize myself with it. I've tried to get into the new HBO series, which is not necessarily new. It's in its 3rd season. called Westworld. I'm just, for whatever reason, I don't know why I can't get into it. People say they're like, if you can just get through the first season, the second and the third season, it gets just really intense. But maybe I'll go back and try to binge that over the weekend or something.
Is that the Western sci-fi show?
Yeah. It's like where robots, you don't know if they're robots and they're living someone else's dream, or if the robots are actually the ones that are alive and it's flipped. So like they take these people into like the West, and for whatever reason, I guess basically these people have these dreams that they want to live these separate lives like in the Wild Wild West. So it's part of their subconscious, and they pay for this, and it's like a whole company that does this. But what happens is the people that are in the Western, which is supposed to be the dream sequences, they're actually the people that are alive, and it's the other world that is the robots. So they have to come back into reality, basically. It's out there.
Yeah, I was going to say, somebody suggested that to me as well. Hey, you just mentioned Direct Relief.
Yeah.
And how much have you raised so far with that? Last I saw was $250,000, but it's got to be more than that now, right?
Over 300,000, and actually today my shirt, it literally was just dropped off a minute ago. So this is the shirt right here for everybody. That is what you're actually buying with the Atlas Falls song, and really, to be honest with you, this organization, I can't say enough about them, because first of all, I never knew who they were until everything that's transpiring now started to happen. But like I said, 7 weeks ago, I didn't know any of this was going on. So I just started to educate myself as much as I possibly could as to what was going on. And when I did that, I came across them. And it's interesting because they've been around since 1948. They're based in Santa Barbara. They work with all 50 states in the U.S., but they also work with over 100 countries. And their sole mission is to make sure that the men and the women in the medical community and in the scientific community, they have the resources that they need in order to save as many lives as possible. But like, they're there in times of crisis. So whether it's poverty, a natural disaster, a pandemic, that's when they really kick into gear. And we reached out to them. We brought this song, Atlas Falls, out of the vault. It was a song that we all really, really loved, and we thought would eventually would see the light of day. We didn't realize it was going to be to this magnitude, but it's a song of optimism, and it really is a song about the human spirit, and to really lift one another up. There was just so much negativity going on, so many questions. We wanted to try to put something out there that was a show of perseverance. And so when we talked to them about what we'd like to do, we created the shirt, and you can go to shinedown.com. You can hit the Atlas Falls link. And when you see the shirt, it's a $50 shirt. And we know that's a lot of money, but the shirt costs $5 to make. And then 100% of the proceeds goes directly to Direct Relief. So we're over $300,000 right now. We also understand at this time, not, $50 is a lot to ask somebody, but you can go to directrelief.org. You can donate $5, $10 directly to them, or you can just learn about them, because they really are a very important organization right now, especially in regards to this pandemic. They're doing a lot of great work.
And of course, they make them in children's sizes for me, right?
They do. 100%. They most definitely make them in meltdown sizes.
That's right. There you go. I was talking to Scott Stapp last week or something. He said two things to me that I'll probably never forget. One was he takes his sobriety, after 6 years, one day at a time. He just wants to get to the next day, to the next day, to the next day. And also he said something. He says how he helps, or how he likes to help people in order to, kind of keep that going. He likes to share things with people, and that's kind of what you guys are doing through this organization, through a lot of the stuff that you guys do as well.
Yeah, because the thing is that anytime that you step in front, especially when something of this magnitude happens, like you were saying, a friend of yours, 25 years old, I've never seen anything in my lifetime like that. Me and you, a little bit older, same thing, never seen anything like this. The number one thing I would tell people, though, is you really do have to educate yourself, and you really have to look at, don't just focus on one particular news source. Take a moment to look at a few of them. I think if anything right now, what I would like to see more media do is report on the news when it's a fact instead of speculation. I know everybody is I know
We'll try to
everybody's
fill up
scared.
24 hours.
Yeah, exactly. But the thing is, too, is I understand the gravity of this, that people ultimately, they're scared. And they're scared not only for their families, but they're scared for everyone. And there's a lot of uncertainty here. But the reality is that I believe truly that human beings, we are at our best when we need one another. And that could not be any more obvious than right now. And really, I am seeing just an immense amount of humanitarianism out there in the public. People are really putting their politics aside, and they're doing everything in their power to help one another. And one thing I'm trying to tell people too, I've always been an advocate for a healthy lifestyle, for fitness, for, learning, how to exercise, how to eat right, and understanding that, look, if you've been thinking about starting an exercise program or an eating program, now is a great time to do that, because you do have the time to do that, and it's only going to benefit you, for your future. It's going to extend your life. But just remember something too, like if you start on a Monday and you've never done anything before, like with fitness or being active or what have you, take it one day at a time, not unlike what Scott said, man, because you can start on a Monday. It doesn't mean you're going to be able to do a Spartan race on Sunday.
Right.
You know what I mean? But you have to at least remember, take one day at a time, really, and you will be surprised with what kind of turning over a more healthy lifestyle. It will really give you a lot of energy, not only mentally and physically, to be able to handle these situations.
Well, you know how it is. It's like, you've obviously shed a lot of weight and stuff, but it's like, I find the same thing with myself. If I don't work out for a few days, I start to feel like lethargic and lazy.
Yeah.
And it's like, it just gives you a nice boost, man. You're right.
It's also endorphins. I mean, your blood flow, look, there's nothing bad that can come of that. You know what I mean? Because you're getting oxygen to your blood. You're clearing out the cobwebs in your head. You're getting all that energy to your heart, your lungs, your body, your soul. Like it helps you focus. It gives you an anchor. I've said this before too. Like I follow Dwayne "The Rock" Johnson on Instagram because he's awesome. But that's his whole motto, man, which is like you have to find your anchor. And it's really smart. It's, for him, it's working out, and it's so he can take that part of the day and get that focus and accomplish that so that he can deal and he can work through the rest of the day with everything that's kind of presented to him. It will help you focus. If you've been thinking about getting in shape, stop thinking about it. Just start.
Yeah, they said yesterday, I think I was talking about is 52% of people said that they've used this time to kind of get in better shape. Of course, some are sleeping more and some are doing other things, but so that's a good sign anyway. So,
yeah.
Well, listen, dude, we'll let you fly. I know you got other interviews and stuff coming up, but you're scheduled to play here July 31st at Caesars Windsor. We'll have to wait and see what happens. So
I got to be honest with you, though, too. Like, look, I'm very vocal about this, too. We always want to show the optimistic side of everything. But the one thing that we will never do is put anybody at risk, especially right now. But the 20 years that Shinedown's been playing live all over the world, the safety of our audience has always been the priority. Obviously, we want the opportunity to play this year, but we're not going to do it if it's not safe. We're in constant contact with the mayors of these cities, with the governors of what we're trying to do here, and I just want people to understand, at the end of the day, we have to do what's right for the society. We are going to get back to playing in front of people again, I think, as a whole, but it's going to take a little bit of time. So I would just tell everybody, be patient, be thoughtful of each other, understand that we really are all on the same playing field here, and our success is going to be determined by how we work together.
Yeah, well said. Well, I'll tell you what, man, outside of that first hiccup, thanks for sticking in there with me. Up to 10.
No, I love it. I love it. You were fast, though, man. You like, bang, you were right back.
All right, Brent. Hey, man, really great to talk to you. Great to see you, especially, and hopefully we'll see you soon somewhere down the road here, and Shinedown will be back in action. Okay.
Be safe, stay healthy, my friend. Much love to you, and thanks to everybody out there, and much respect to the WRIF.
You too. Thank you, my friend. We'll talk to you soon.
Later.
See you, brother.